Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Yankees win the series at home against the Tampa Bay Rays. They win the rubber game. So now they're 3-0 in rubber games, 6-1 in series overall. And luckily, they had that series loss against the Blue Jays, were able to salvage the last game, avoid the sweep, and kind of find a way to take 2 of 3 at Yankee Stadium against the Rays. Look, the Yankees really aren't playing all that well, as I see it. They're 15-7, which is really, really good. Obviously, that's better than a 667 win percentage. I wouldn't expect that to last, but they're kind of finding ways to get it done. The offense has not been doing a whole lot, and really all it was in this series was 2 big innings. One in game 1 Friday, one in game 3 Sunday. And game 1 and game 3 were very similar. It was weirdly very similar. Yankees win 5-3 in game 1. They win 5-4 in game 3. And in the middle game, the Yankees lose in extra innings 2-0 in 10 innings. They get shut out, don't score a single run in 10 innings. And that was a great performance. I mean, Nestor Cortez was fantastic in game 2. And that was a game where they honored John Sterling, who is, who's called his last game after many, many, many years as Yankee announcer and just overall announcer. He has been around for quite some time. Did a lot of work with the Atlanta Braves and really across all sports. He was the Islanders announcer for a time. Definitely wish John Sterling well. I will say I'm not going to miss so much his missed calls, especially in recent years, but he deserves his praise, and he's been getting a lot of it. And then also, it was Aaron Judge bobblehead day. They had to postpone it last year because it was a rain out, and it was honoring his 62 home run season from 2022. And the ironic thing is he was actually booed. In game 2, he had struck out all 4 of his plate appearances. It's been a really rough go for Aaron Judge to start. He just hasn't. And it's funny because each episode I'm always saying, because he'll do a little something. It seems like in each series, it's not like it's a complete dud. Like he'll hit like a big 3-run homer or that big 2-run single against the Blue Jays, and it's not getting him going. And he's still batting in the 180s. Again, not concerned about him. I think that, assuming he's healthy, and that is something that we can't really totally assume, but if he is, he will get on track. Juan Soto just continues to be really, really good. Hits a really big 3-run homer in the first game. He was one of the few guys that was getting on base and getting hits in game 2. It's interesting. He didn't do home run in game 3. It was actually Alex Verdugo. And I like slowly but surely what I'm seeing with him. And I think the way his style of hitting, it's going to eventually, the results will come. And he hasn't been hitting the ball that hard, but he makes contact. And, he has a simple approach, but, he had a nice 3-hit game in the rubber match. But Yankee starting pitching, pretty damn good, specifically. For that reason, even though, look, them getting length, although in Nestor they got it, but getting length from their starters still an issue, but that said, not bad. Like Clark Schmidt goes 5 1/3. That's about what you're going to get from him. Nestor, what did Nestor go? 7? What did Nestor Cortez go in game 2? I believe it was about 7 innings, and it was just he was dealing, and that was good to see because, look, he had, as much as he was good against the Marlins a couple starts ago, I didn't love what he did against the Guardians. I thought that was kind of a poor performance. But, yeah, he goes 7 innings and looked great doing it. And then Luis Gil, 5 2/3, and he really could have gotten to 6. But for Gil, that is good. So, hey, starting pitching, very effective. Bullpen's another story. We'll get into that. And it's just too bad because it's one of those things where the injuries are really starting to catch up to them. And they're just really trying to hold on to that pen. But let's talk about the beginning of this series. I'm trying to think as far as moves that were made. There was at least one that comes to mind, and it was Taylor Trammell. They claimed him off waivers, I believe, from the Dodgers, and they designated Kevin Smith for assignment. So kind of an interesting decision in terms of just the fact that Smith's an infielder. And obviously you do have Oswaldo who can move around, but he is basically, Oswaldo right now is basically your starting third baseman. So your bench right now is your backup catcher, whether that's Trevino or Wells, Trent Grisham, who's an outfielder. Well, right. So that's the thing. Jahmai Jones, it's not as if you don't have it. Jahmai Jones, I think he really can only play second. Like, in terms of your backup shortstop, you'd have to get a little creative and move Oswaldo over. Like, I guess that's where you're kind of thinned out there. But, hey, it's not like you don't have the coverage. But, yeah, Taylor Trammell feels somewhat like it's kind of like, what's the point of having Grisham and Trammell? Again, I wouldn't expect him to last on the roster long. But it is what it is right now. Also, Nick Burdi, he goes to the IL. That was sort of actually the bigger one. Forgetting about the offensive substitution, it was Burdi with hip inflammation. I don't think he'll be out for too long, but considering how bad the shape they're in, that's not great. So Cody Morris, not Cody Poteet, Cody Morris, who the Yankees got from Cleveland in the Estevan Florial trade, he hasn't pitched yet for the Yanks, but presumably he will soon. So there were a couple of changes that happened, and it sounds like DJ LeMahieu isn't too far off, although he did have kind of what would be seen as somewhat of a setback. His rehab assignment was supposed to start, I believe, on Friday, but now it won't start till Tuesday. So he'll be back at some point, but the thing is with Oswaldo Cabrera playing so well, it's like you gotta keep him in the lineup. Even when LeMahieu comes back, you got to do it. And so that means Gleyber Torres losing some playing time, and that means DJ himself. I'm fine with it because I don't think you want to mess with Cabrera right now. He deserves to play, and he's been really good. And then Tommy Kahnle, he should be back sooner than later as well. So, and look, that'll be really useful. I know, with Kahnle, he was good for a while when he got back last year. He kind of did. He did decline a bit as the season progressed, but I think he's been dealing with injuries in general. I mean, he is getting up there a little bit. But yeah, he'll be a welcome return for sure. So game one, the Rays out hit the Yankees 14-5, but the Yankees win 5-3. Rays defense definitely caught them. That's been a bit of an issue for the Rays in recent seasons, is that defense. Tyler Alexander, the starter for the Rays, lefty, really good. Only allowed 2 hits in 5 1/3 innings. No one runs, and that was the case. No one runs were allowed at all. All 5 runs were scored were due to an error or two being involved. Although, to be fair, we'll get to the Yandy Diaz error. That's a little unfair. It's like, to me, how do you the other day get rid of the Rizzo error, but then you give one to Yandy Diaz here? A little inconsistent. But either way, it was Chris Davinsky who the Yankees would get to. But other than that, really nice job by the Rays pitching. But they're hitting it. It's been tough for them, where Yandy Diaz and Randy Arozarena are off to really, really slow starts. And those are their 2 best hitters. Like, you look at the rest of the lineup, they are getting, look, it's interesting. They were getting production from sources that, maybe weren't so much expected. Caballero was a thorn on the Yankees' side basically all series long. He was really good. And Caballero, where did he come from? Right, Seattle. That makes sense. And I think Caballero, I want to say that he was the one that Garrett, where there was that whole thing where Garrett, I think it was last season. Yeah, where Garrett Cole kind of got into it with him a little bit. Yeah, he's a little pest, but effective to an extent. But yeah, Caballero, Ben Rortvedt, the former, Rortvedt looks solid with Tampa. He's looking pretty good. And I think in a perfect world, the Yankees would have kept him in the organization, but they just didn't have the room to do so. Ahmed Rosario has been a Yankee killer really since his days with the Mets. I'm not sure if the stats back that up, but it really feels that way. But yeah, so it was kind of these players that you wouldn't necessarily expect to do well did, but the Yankees did shut down, like I said, Diaz and Arozarena, and that was really helpful. So let's move through this game here. And Clark Schmidt was good. I guess let me go through each player a little bit before we kind of go through the play-by-play, and let me just kind of consider how these players did in this series. So Anthony Volpe had a big RBI single in game one, but he has been scuffling a little bit. I would definitely keep him up at the leadoff spot, but it's something to consider, right? Like that was where my thought was maybe let him go a little longer at the bottom of the order. But Glaber's been even worse than he was at leadoff, so that might have hurt his confidence. But either way, Volpe, he'll be fine up there, but he has struggled lately. Soto, like I said, just amazing. Judge, really bad. Really, really bad. Stanton, nothing too memorable. He was out. So game two, Stanton was out, Grisham in, and Stanton pinch hit. That's the thing. Stanton's not a great pinch. He's not a good pinch hitter at all, and hit a double play. And then Glaber actually sat out game two. So it was the first start of the season for Jahmai Jones. So a little bit of a weaker lineup in game two. Anthony Rizzo, not a whole lot to speak of, although he did have an RBI single in the third game. Verdugo, like I said, was a big catalyst in game three. Trevino, I actually like what I've seen from him at the plate. Trevino has done a nice job, although defensively with Trevino, it has not been amazing. There was a catcher's interference, and he also he doesn't have the strongest arm, and his pop time is not great. So teams are really running on the Yankees a lot, and Trevino and Wells are not able to kind of stop that. That's a problem. And then as Waldo just is continuing. I mean, he has been, for my money, he's actually probably been the most consistent Yankee. I mean, as great as Soto has been, and Soto's been the best for sure, but as Waldo has just continued to do a really, really good job out there. The at-bats are of high quality. And he continues to bat low in the lineup. He will, at highest, he'll bat seventh, but a lot of times he'll bat ninth. And he should remain in that starting lineup as much as it can possibly happen, regardless of who's in there. He's a young player. And, you don't want to sit him out and, to have him, ruin a good thing. But yeah, Clark Schmidt, he was good in this one. They left him in a little bit too long. I think Boone probably should have pulled the plug a little bit sooner. Look, the fact of the matter is that Schmidt, as it goes deeper, he's just not quite as effective. We've known that now. You wish it wasn't the case, but it is. Nonetheless, Schmidt was great, right? I mean, he only allows one run. It was a home run allowed to Palacios. But we can jump straight there, really. We can really jump straight there. Trying to think of any notables here. Soto made a really nice catch on a Palacios fly ball in the third inning. A couple of there weren't that many runners in scoring position chances. Soto and Judge fly out in the third in a tie game. But yeah, let's go to the sixth. And really at that point, he was already at mid-90s pitch count wise for Schmidt. His day wasn't going to last a whole lot longer. And Palacios homers to give the Rays a 1-0 lead. Then Dennis Santana comes on, does a really nice job for Santana. A really good game one, not so much as far as game three. And it's too bad because it was at the point where he was really moving up the pecking order, but then that might have moved it back down a bit. With Birdie out, like Santana, I think is kind of one of your high leverage relievers, but kind of a mixed bag. But look good in game one. Let's discuss the seventh inning because that's when things get really interesting. Davinsky replaces Armstrong, and it starts out with a Torres strikeout, but then the Yankees catch some breaks. Verdugo reaches on an error by second baseman Curtis Mead. Just a bad play. It was an easy routine play that he boots. Then Trevino walks, which is nice. And Trevino, he's not one to walk often. And when he does it, it's meaningful. And then Oswaldo Cabrera, really honestly for me, probably should have went down as an RBI single. It's called an error on Yandy Diaz. It's a tough play. I'm not saying that he could have made it, but that's a pretty brutal official score right there. So Anyway, Yankees tied up at 1. Trevino goes to third. So it's first and third, 1 out. And Anthony Volpe with a big RBI steal to make it 2-1. But the big blow. And here's the thing. Kevin Cash, where he messed up in this series, and the more I look at this one with Davinsky, probably should have pulled the plug on Davinsky a little bit sooner. And he left him in maybe a little bit too long, and he left Aaron Savali in game 3 in too long. So what happens is Juan Soto blasts a 3-run homer to give the Yankees a 5-1 lead. That was gigantic. To get that from a 2-1 game to a 5-1 game, I mean, Soto is just, it has been just so good so far. What are you, 22 games in the season? And just, it has just fit to perfection. And the Yankees take a 5-1 lead. Eighth inning, though, Ian Hamilton struggles. And it's interesting for Hamilton. He's basically been really good this season, I would say, except for 2 outings, home against the Blue Jays, home against the Rays, where he's really, really been pretty awful and has not really shown, the thing with Hamilton is he hasn't shown as much swing and miss ability as he had last year. I still think he'll be good, but should he necessarily be like your next guy after Clay Holmes? Not really. He probably should be a little bit further down in the order, but that's where they're at with the injuries. Leadoff Walker Rosarena, you don't want to do that. Double Palacios, then a 2-run single for Isaac Paredes. Makes it 5-3. And then from there, it gets pretty interesting. But he's able to kind of get out of it. Ramirez lines out to Glaber. Rosario lines out to Soto. You get a single by Curtis Mead, makes it first and third, but then Caballero grounds out. So to Oswaldo Cabrera. So the score remains 5-3. Let's go to the ninth. And for Clay Holmes, who really, it's been a good year for Clay Holmes. As much as we talk about, I've kind of called him cardiac Clay, and that kind of happened a little bit in this one. Clay Holmes, ERA, 0. And 8 saves. So it's not always dominant. And the thing with him is interesting, too. Only 8 strikeouts in 11 innings. Like the Yankees bullpen, I think it's been known for strikeouts, not really getting that many at all, honestly. But hey, they are still doing enough. And so Clay Holmes in the 9th inning, he basically starts it out with a single by Ben Rortvedt, single by Yandy Diaz, and where things get really interesting is a Rosarena, right? It was this one in the 9th inning. A Rosarena flies out to, how'd they call this? So it was a bad job by Glaber and Volpe, I would say. I'm not sure where the blame goes to, where Judge kind of has to come on in. It was really either the second baseman or shortstop's ball, a high sky pop-up by a Rosarena. Judge comes in and dives, and the ball goes off his glove, so it's not a catch. However, originally the ump ruled it as out. He kind of he didn't see it correctly. It was really play keeps going, everyone's safe. And Judge is able to throw Rortvedt out at third. So it's somewhat no harm, no foul, or if he catches it or doesn't, it probably ends up at first and second one out anyway. But a bit of a weird play that went into a lot of reviewing. Kevin Cash was kind of upset. I didn't see his post-game presser. The only reason why I could see why Cash would be upset is maybe because of just the miscall by the second base ump initially. But even if that were the case, I don't think Rortvedt is able to get to third safely. Again, I think it kind of was what it was. But anyway, then Palacios ends the game on a line out to Volpe, who throws to Gleyber Torres, and they get the run out at second. So really, between Hamilton and Clay Holmes, they were not really all that good. They didn't get any strikeouts, but they were able to get it done. So that big 5-run inning, and really, 1 or 2 big errors by the Rays cost them, and then the Juan Soto 3-run homer gets it done. Clark Schmidt, good job by him. Good job by him. The one mistake to Palacios probably should have been taken out, but he does a nice job. Game 2, like I said, John Sterling day, Aaron Judge bobblehead day, and the offense went very cold, and it's they only get 4 hits. 1 extra base hit, a double by Soto, of course, and it's interesting in this game, Soto, he goes 2 for 4, but yeah, besides that, it was bad. It was really bad for the Yankees, and for the Rays, a very nice outing by Zach Eflin. Very, very good. And he's definitely one of their best pitchers. He goes 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 6 strikeouts. But Nestor Cortez was dominant. 7 innings, 6 hits, no runs, no walks, 9 strikeouts. So it's good to see that he's capable of this. And hey, Cortez has been a lot better at home than away. So something to just think about. He has been a lot better at Yankee Stadium. But for Nestor, that's the thing. And it gets tricky when you compare pitchers in the rotation. But like with Rodon, we simply haven't seen an outing like this. We just haven't. Even in his best outings, we've never seen Rodon as a Yankee go anywhere near the statless 7 innings, 6 hits, no runs, no walks, 9 strikeouts. Not even close. So with Nestor, at least the ability, the upside is really there for him. But, in this game, like I said, it was a bit of a weaker lineup where you have Trent Grisham batting 6th. That's never ideal. Kind of strange, too. Like, why would Oswaldo bat 7th and Grisham 6th? But I guess I digress. But yeah, not a lot to speak of, really. Judge, obviously, 4 at-bats, 4 strikeouts, not good, and didn't look good doing so at all. The Yankees, I guess, let's see, where were their opportunities? Somewhat so in the first inning where Verdugo grounds out with 2 on and 2 out. I'm looking at the Yankees specifically. They went down 1, 2, 3 a lot. There was a ground rule double by Soto in the 6th, and then Judge strikes out to end the inning. That's tough. That's tough right there, especially because Soto's been so good in getting on base. So Judge has been on in a lot of pretty big situations and just isn't really – the productivity just isn't there. So in the 7th, Colin Poche, the lefty, comes on. Stanton pinch hits for Grisham with a runner on first and 1 out, and he grounds into a double play, 5-4-3. His pinch hitting numbers in his career are very ugly. We know that. Luke Weaver comes on and pitches a nice 1, 2, 3 8th inning. So Luke Weaver has been kind of entrusted into a bigger role and has kind of been not so bad, surprisingly. Let's go to the 9th. Clay Holmes is able to pitch a scoreless 9th inning. So it would mean that Clay Holmes would not be available for Game 3, but Holmes keeps it tied. Bottom of the 9th is really where the Yankees' best chance occurred. Jason Adam comes in, and Soto just gets under one to the opposite field. It's too bad. Judge strikes out, of course, and then Rizzo flies out to right where that looked like it may have had a chance. But Rizzo, he's a tick off. He just is. Like, it's just not quite there. And he only has 1 home run, which is tough too. You want more from him, as far as that category is concerned. We go to the 10th. Caleb Ferguson comes on. It's been really, really rough for Caleb Ferguson. Very, very bad. And to me, at this point, he needs to move down. Head on. Dodger lefties like Victor Gonzalez, who we'll talk about in Game 3, he's got to be ahead of Caleb Ferguson. I know their roles are slightly different, but for Ferguson, they think he's better than he's been. Let's put it that way. And in the 10th inning, it's okay to give up 1 run, but it's really tough to give up 2, and that's what happens. Caballero RBI double to start it out, and then with 1 out, and Caballero steals 3rd, which was important, but Ben Rortved, and I believe the count was 0-2 on Rortved, and it was to Caballero as well. That's bad. 0-2 to Caballero, and let me just check with Rortved. 0-2 as well. Unacceptable by Ferguson. So that makes it 2-0. And then the bottom of the 10th, Garrett Clevenger, the lefty, comes on. Verdugo ground out. Glaber ground out. Oswaldo strike out. And Glaber was a pinch hitter, by the way. That's your ball game. That is it. Rays win 2-0 in 10 innings. Rubber match. Game 3 between Aaron Savale, the former Cleveland Guardian, who I believe the Yankees had last faced in that Game 5 of the LDS against Cleveland, where Giancarlo Stanton hit a 3-run homer off of him in the first inning. The Yankees with Luis Gil on the mound, Gil was very good. And the good thing, too, was he was limiting the walks until the very end. He had only had 1 walk through 5 2/3 innings, and his last 2 batters he walked, so he couldn't quite help himself. But, you get with Gil, he doesn't allow that many hits. And he gets a lot of strikeouts. Like, if he could ever harness the control, he could be a really top-of-the-line pitcher. The talent is there. I'll keep on saying that with him. It's within himself, really. So, Game 3. And the Yankees do get it done. So, first inning, 2 out, 2 on, Anthony Rizzo RBI single. That's what you're looking for. Baby steps. Again, the numbers are not good. The numbers are not good, but hey, a lot of the numbers are not good when you look at the Yankee lineup. Like, there's worse than him. There just is. So that makes it 1-0. Then in the third, just a self-induced fuck up by Heel. Leadoff double for Caballero. Again, like, just killed him this series. But then with 1 out, it's a throwing error where Caballero is kind of off second, and Heel just airmails it over Gleyber's head. So he moves to third, but then he gets Rosarina to strike out, but then it's a balk. And it was a balk to me. Like, that was the right call. Palacios is up. Caballero on third. And so Heel could have gotten down to that in the zone, but allows that run. But that would be it for him. That'd be the only run he'd allowed all game. Let's jump to the fifth. Fifth inning. Yankees tied 1-1. 2-out rally. Total 2-out rally off of Savali. And Kevin Cash left Savali in way too long. He just did. It's a 2-out walk for Stanton, then Rizzo, then Gleyber. So it sets you up with bases loaded 2 out, and Alex Verdugo comes through with a 2-run single, first pitch. And you know what? Verdugo seems to be better when he gets, that swing off early in the count. Even though he's good at working the count, he seems to be better early on. Just something I've noticed. And so that makes it 3-1 Yanks right there. And then at that point, to me, that's where Savali should be out of the game, but he keeps him in. And Jose Trevino gets an RBI single, and as well, though, Cabrera gets an RBI single. So that makes it 5-1. And so that kind of reminds me a little bit of the first game where the Yankees took a 5-1 lead. This one got a little more, even though that one got interesting, this one I'd say got even more interesting. So, like I said, Heel can't quite finish the sixth. Luke Weaver comes on and is able to, end the inning, although he made it hard on himself because he dropped an easy play from Rizzo, but he's able to get out of it. That did get a little bit interesting. Erasmo Ramirez actually comes on and does a really nice job to settle things down for the Rays and give them a chance to come back. So Weaver pitches a nice seventh inning. So, like I said, yeah, his role has changed due to the fact of all these injuries. He's now got he's like a middle reliever / like high leverage guy at this point. But Dennis Santana struggles in the eighth. 1-out single Palacios, walk Paredes, and then a 2-out 2-run double by Ahmed Rosario, and then a 2-out RBI single by Curtis Mead. He then steals second, but then Rortvedt lines out to right. A pretty ugly inning for Dennis Santana. And so the Yankees lead is only 1. We go to the ninth, and Victor Gonzalez comes on. He's done such a nice job. I'm kind of hoping that he can be the new Wandy, which is not going to be easy to do and almost impossible to do, but he's been good. And it's funny, he's not getting many strikeouts, although he's not getting many swings and misses, but the numbers are really, really excellent. So, hey, he's doing something right. And he comes out for the save with Clay Holmes unavailable and presumably, and I guess confirmed, Ian Hamilton, who did throw a lot of pitches in the first game, and then a couple days before that threw a good amount of pitches against the Blue Jays. So they wanted to stay away from him. Gonzalez strikes out Caballero. Diaz grounds out. Arosa ran a 2-out walk, but Harold Ramirez as a pinch hitter lines out on a really nice play. Gonzalez, it goes off his foot. He's able to chase it and flip it over underhand to Rizzo. And they get out Harold Ramirez, who slid to first. I'm not sure why he didn't just run through the bag. He probably would have been out either way, but Yankees hold on for the 5-4 win. They get it done. They win the series. They're 6-1 in series. And look, it's always important. This is a really good division, like I keep on saying. Every team is competitive. Every team is above 500. So, and the thing is, like, Rays are in last right now at 12-11, but hey, like, that's still a tough team. And they always will be, despite the fact the roster isn't all that impressive. So now the Yankees continue their homestand with a 4-game set against the Oakland A's. And of course, Oakland is one of the worst teams in the league. They're 8-14. The first matchup is an interesting one. It's J.P. Sears, the former Yankee, versus Carlos Rodon. So let's see what that brings. Rodon looking to bounce back after a rough start versus the Blue Jays. And of course, Sears now, who, he's faced the Yankees a few times since he got traded to Oakland in that Frankie Montas deal. Game 2 will be between Paul Blackburn and Marcus Stroman. Blackburn probably, without thinking too hard about it, is probably the Oakland ace. He's been pretty decent to start the season. as has Stroman. And then game 3 will be between Joe Boyle and Clark Schmidt. So this one's definitely advantage Yankees on paper. And then game 4 will be Alex Wood and Nestor Cortez. So another battle of lefties. So you have a couple of matchups between lefties and a couple of matchups between righties, the way it ends up working out. So this is a series where you're definitely looking to win at least 3. I mean, look, sweeping all 4 games, that is just tough, regardless of the situation. But you're definitely 3 out of 4 is more than reasonable and something that you should at least be getting against Oakland. So, Yankees are able to, offense did just enough. They put together one big inning on Friday, one big inning on Sunday, and it was just enough with the good starting pitching that they got to be able to defeat the Rays 2 of 3 at the stadium. And now Oakland will come to town for a 4-game set.